Hey guys, insight number 4. So we're actually going to cover here more like the theme of this week in a way. Specifically 32:28, which we already did read in insight number 2. But verse 28 is where Jacob says, look, I'm going to let you prevail, God. I've just asked you to bless me. And at that point in that wrestle that we talked about, the Lord then changes his name to Israel. So, and Israel has so many meanings for it. But now in the manual, which is where I get my material from, these manuals here, there's a page like the Abrahamic covenant page was that sort of just gives you a brief explanation of what this means. So I have stuck that in my book here. So it looks like that. If you've got the manual, if you're on a device, it'll be there in between as you swipe week to week. You'll find it. I've underlined some of the points that I really liked. So as I already told you that when we talked about Leah, that it's through Judah that Christ descended. Paul proclaimed that he was of the tribe of Benjamin. So that's where he descended from. And Lehi discovered that he was a descendant of Joseph. And so am I, through Ephraim. Literal descendant. That's pretty cool. It talks about you getting your patriarchal blessing, and for back then it was really important for them to be part of this house of Israel, which on the back of this page actually is a really cool family tree, because you wonder where they all come from. See, there it is there. When you get closer you can see it, but that's also on your devices too, and in the manual if you want to read that, because Ephraim and Manasseh, which is the ones we probably hear about the most in patriarchal blessings for a long time, not so much now. Now we hear more and more of them. Now you're under no obligation to share what tribe you're from, doesn't matter, but they're actually from the tribe of Joseph, and they split off because they just had this decided to look. I mean, honestly, in researching that one, if you want to know, Wikipedia actually is pretty accurate on it, on that one. The tribe of Ephraim, or Manasseh and Joseph, and why it split. Basically, they just decided they had different ideas and they went different ways. That was basically it. So they call themselves different names, but they're both Joseph. But yeah, I underlined, it was just, getting tongue-tied here. It was important then to know what house you were from, because that it really did sort of portray easily when you met someone what their values were, what their family lived like, and it also helped them to know to marry within those tribes so that they continued that Abrahamic covenant. They were with covenant people. They weren't marrying people that believed in idols and worshipped idols and weren't interested in that, and then were going to bring up their children in that way. So this was just what they did in those days. It was important for them to have that. So our patriarchal blessing declares that, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But being a part of the house of Israel means that you have a covenant relationship with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. It means that you, like Abraham, are meant to be a blessing to God's children. It means that you are one who perseveres with God as you honor your covenants with Him. So, you and the house of Israel, or the house of Israel and you, because the house of Israel lived under the Abrahamic covenant, being that Jacob is now Israel and he is the grandson of Abraham. Right. So, are you part of the house of Israel? Are these blessings and promises yours as well? Yes. Yes. You are either descended from or upon baptism adopted into one of these tribes, meaning those blessings of the Abrahamic covenant are all yours. Now, if you're wondering what those are again, just skip back in the book to that lesson, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it has what that Abrahamic blessing is. It's, here we go, there, if you're worried about it. Right there. Take a screenshot. I might put that up again because it does cover it. But anyway, I did post it, so it's also posted there if you need to go look back, scroll back and see that. Those blessings of the Abrahamic covenant are all yours and mine. We're all part of that. Really, if you live this, you can actually say, I'm of the house of Jesus. Because that's what we are. We're of the house of Jesus. It's about being a servant of Jesus Christ. So, not serving man. We talked about that in the last one. Poor Leah. Leah, my friend. Leah's my girl. Not poor Leah. She's got strength. She's a very determined, amazing woman. Let's stop having pity on her. Because I don't think she has pity on herself. I think she's actually pretty cool with herself right now. Keep that in mind. It's my friend. Yeah. But yeah, we're all of the house of Israel. So we can say we're of the house of Jesus because it is being the servants of Jesus Christ. So I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. President Nelson, he said, the gathering of Israel is the most important thing taking place on earth today. Nothing else compares in magnitude, in importance, in majesty. And if you choose to, you can be a big part of it. That's kind of cool, right? You can be a big part of it. But there really is nothing more important on earth right now. Even though it seems like COVID's more important. It seems like Russia invading Ukraine is more important. And those are very important things. But nothing is more important than the gathering of Israel. Nothing is more important than bringing people to Christ. That is the most important thing right now. And if you want, you can be a big part of it. So really consider that this week as you go over this house of Israel. Where do you fit into that? Because that will help you feel that connection to being part of the house of Israel, or the house of Jesus, because that's what I'm going to call it. And having that Abrahamic covenant as part of your life, because it is. And those promises are there, whether they come in this life or the next or the whatever. We talked about that in those weeks, so go look at those. But you can be part of that if you choose to. It's your choice. Up to you. Cool. All right. Hang around for the last one. We're going to finish off in Genesis 33. See you there.